Hey everybody, what's up and how are you doing? This is Mandy from the Dean Stockwell unofficial page on Facebook. I'm also the admin of the Dean Stockwell Appreciation Society and the Pray for Dean Stockwell prayer chain, both of which are also on Facebook. And this is the Dean's List. To start out, I want to thank you for subscribing to this podcast, and I would like to thank Albert Mark Burge of the Quantum Leap podcast for helping me figure out how to get the show off the ground, Hayden McQueenie, also from the QL podcast, for pointing me to Albie in the first place, and Leslie Winsell for helping me decide on the show's name. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Deborah M. Pratt, who has been very kind to all of us who love Dean and has been sending our love directly to him. Thank you, Miss Pratt. We love you. Now, here is episode 1 of the Dean's List.
Hey, slow down, will you? I'm fighting a hangover. All right, you want a sure thing? I got it for you. You don't do anything. You just live. Barring accidental death or a fatal disease, you'll be back in 40 years. That's your safest option.
And Tom Stratton?
Well, he'll go on living forward from where he's at now. Technically, he could end up the oldest man alive.
Well, what about Peg and Mikey? I don't want to hurt them, but I can't go on pretending I'm Tom.
Hey, they were going to lose him on Monday anyway. Of course, if you bust Mark 3 and survive, they could have him around for another 30 or 40 years.
I can't fly.
I'll be your co-pilot.
You're a hologram.
I'm also an ex-astronaut. The hardest part about flying is taking off and landing. The B-50 does the first part of that for you. After that, you just fire a couple of rockets, hang onto the stick, and kaza-zoom! Mach 3.
If you haven't figured it out already, this podcast is dedicated to and is going to center around the legendary star of both big and small screens, Mr. Dean Stockwell. This show will mostly discuss Dean's career, but today I'm going to talk to you about something much more important. As many of you who are fans of Dean's may know by now, in May of 2015, Dean suffered a stroke and was placed into care in a nursing facility somewhere in Santa Fe, New Mexico. When I first heard about his being ill, I was shocked and heartbroken. In fact, I lost some sleep for a couple of days after I learned of his illness on his IMDb message boards. I grew up watching Dean's work. He's always been a pretty important part of my childhood movie watching memories. I was around 4 years old when I saw him in Anchors Away for the first time, and I instantly fell in love with him, and I never, ever forgot him. Of course, the fact that he has been in well over 100 films and has been working pretty consistently for the past 7 decades has helped immensely in my inability to forget him, I'm sure. But nonetheless, he has been ever present in my television and movie viewing since that first night I saw him. And he's always been someone that I've been pleased to see grace my TV screen ever since. I first learned of Dean's illness in early June. I can't remember what circumstances led to my curiosity being piqued about his current whereabouts that particular day, and I don't know why I looked him up, but I suppose perhaps fate had bigger plans than I did? Who knows? I just remember that I looked him up on IMDb and read that he had been hospitalized. I was devastated, and I immediately started praying for him. In a panic, I texted my sister, and I told her I had learned that my darling Dean was ailing, and to please help me pray for him, which of course she did, because my sister is awesome like that. Thank you, sweetie. Anyway, a few weeks went by, and my interest in Dean kept growing. I found Quantum Leap on Netflix, and fell in love with the show, and began falling very hard, yet again, for Dean. He's always been such a heartbreaker. During this time, I found I wanted to share my interest with other people, so I went to Facebook in search of a group to join, but there weren't any that were active. There were 5 or 6 about Quantum Leap with maybe 2 members, some had maybe 4, but none of them had any activity going on and hadn't done for several years. They were ghost groups. I was disheartened by this, and then I had the idea, well, maybe I'll make a group of my own. But I immediately pushed the idea aside because I had a job at the time, and I've had groups in the past that have always fizzled out or been passed on to other people and eventually shut down for various reasons, time constraints being a very big one. So I thought, I don't have time to run a group of my own, it won't work out. Well, a few more days went by, and I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I finally decided I wanted to have a group, an active group, on Facebook dedicated to Dean badly enough that I was willing to chance the possibility that I wouldn't be able to update it very frequently due to my job. So I created the Dean Stockwell Appreciation Society. To my delight, it grew. Very slowly, but it grew, and we now have 21 members. That was in late June that I created the group. Then, on July 18th, we received news that Dean had suffered another stroke and was doing very poorly. As is my nature, I immediately panicked and thought, oh no, I've got to do something. The only thing I could think of to do that I knew would work was to start a prayer chain. So I did. I created an event called Pray for Dean Stockwell. The response was pretty staggering to me. There were only about 30 people who RSVP'd their interest during that 2 weeks, and they left the most beautiful messages on the page. Now, 30 people might not seem like a lot, but to have that many messages pouring in on a daily basis about one person and seeing so many positive responses, that's kind of a big deal. So 1 week into that, the lovely Miss Deborah Pratt left us a message as well, telling us that Dean was getting his strength back, he was with his family, and sent his thanks to all of us who had been praying for him. Just 1 week after the prayer chain's conception. You think I was blown away before. I was definitely blown away this time at how quickly the prayer chain was working. And I was so blessed by the fact that not only was the prayer chain bringing people together from all faiths, and that they were all happily, peacefully, and joyfully participating, but that the prayers, positive thoughts, and good wishes were all working together so quickly to achieve the same end, that our darling Dean was getting well. But there was a problem that I couldn't solve. The event page was going to come to an end in a week. Because of some weird thing that Facebook has, event pages can only run for 14 days, and they don't let you extend them. The effect the prayer page was having was, I knew, much too positive and good of a thing to be closed down forever by a deadline. So I decided to create a permanent page for the prayer chain. I did, and it's still up and running on Facebook now, and will continue to do so forever. Then, finally, a few days after the prayer page was designed, the one and only page on Facebook officially run by those close to Dean was closed down. I sort of panicked at discovering this because I didn't know if the page's closing was a bad omen or just another door opening. So I did some asking around, and it became clear that it was another door opening and not a bad omen, though it was definitely a disappointment. With the help of my friends, namely Hayden, Leslie, and Severine, hello, I started the unofficial page as a replacement for the official page that was no more. Because after all, us Dean fans need to have a place to go to talk about our favorite person on Earth, right? Of course, right. Since that time, that was around about the end of July, by the way, we have had a small handful of likes, new members to the Appreciation Society, and a couple of stragglers coming over to the prayer page. So, here's all I ask of you. If you're listening to this podcast and you love Dean Stockwell, please come over to Facebook, join our group, and like our pages, and please become a part of the prayer chain. It doesn't matter what faith you are. If you love Dean and you want to see him continue to get well as we do, all you need to do is like our page and spread the word about it, and join us in prayer, positive thoughts, and well wishes for him. Our community's small, but we have so much love for this man, and we want to share it with everyone else who's concerned. So please, pop on over, check out our pages, and then give us a shout out on social media. We'd be thrilled to have you. That's all for today's show. Thanks for listening. Until next time, Dean lovers, hold on to your stogies.
You see this little beam of light? Well, that's all there is. The rest is in your head. So it seems.
I wanna live. I wanna give. I've been